Hey, what's the idea of sneaking up on me?
I'm sorry. Did you get anything yet?
No, I missed it again.
Oh.
I don't know whether it's the satellite or this gear.
Well, I still don't see how you expect to hear a satellite.
Well, sometime when I got a couple years, I'll try to explain it to you.
Well, right now, if you've got a couple of minutes, how about explaining some of this to me?
Sure, might as well. Unless the satellite's burned up, it's gone now anyway. What don't you get?
Well, I get what it says about molecules, I guess. But what I don't know...
Donna?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
A blank.
Well, listen, are you sure you got enough range? I mean, trying to pick up a signal from a satellite's pretty tricky business.
Well, other guys are doing it. I'll track it down yet.
You know, last night at the church, some of the kids asked me to track you and Donna down, too.
Too busy.
Well, sure, we understand. It's just that we're trying to line things up for the next few weeks. We wanted to know if you'd be available to help us out with a program for one of the youth meetings.
Well, maybe later on, but, well, right now...
How about you, Donna?
Oh, I'd like to help out. Only I'm just too busy.
Okay. Remember, these meetings are important. Or did you forget?
Look, Fred, just between us, this youth fellowship stuff down at the church is just taking up too much time.
Too much?
Well, and besides, it doesn't mean what it used to.
What are you talking about?
Well, I've been talking to Sid Thorpe. He's been helping me with this.
So?
Well, we've been talking about science and religion. I'm just beginning to realize how out of date the church really is.
Out of date?
Well, and things in the Bible, they don't make sense anymore, not when you look at them scientifically.
Well, listen, just because Sid Thorpe happens to be president of the high school science club, that doesn't make him any authority on religion.
Well, shouldn't our religious ideas stand up even under a scientific approach? I mean, either a thing is true or it isn't.
Well, certainly, but listen, Joe, there's some things we just have to accept on faith.
That isn't enough for me, Fred. I'm not going to build my future on something I can't prove.
Well, will you talk to our youth sponsor then? Or to the pastor?
Look, Fred, we don't have to talk to anybody.
Son, when do you think you'll get your satellite tracker working?
I don't know, Dad. I can't seem to find out what's wrong.
Say, that reminds me. Guess who's coming to town? George Cooper. There was a story about him in the paper.
Well, what's bringing him here?
Well, it seems he's going to have charge of installing some kind of electronic brain out at the new research center. Too bad he's not still living next door, Joe. I'll bet he could fix you a satellite tracker.
Boy, I'll say.
He must be pretty old by now.
Yes, he's almost 31. Ah, he was quite a character. Remember the time we hired him to hold the garden? And he mixed up a batch of chemicals to try to kill the weeds scientifically?
And the smell drove us out of the house for a whole day?
Well, he did kill the weeds, and they never came back.
Yeah, neither did the grass. Seems such a shame that George, for all his brains, could never accept the fact of God having any part in the universe.
I'm so thankful that neither of you ever got to questioning things the way he did.
I wonder what happened to his folks after they moved east.
All I know is what we've read in the papers about George these past few years.
Yes, Dr. George Cooper, eminent scientist. How can a man with a mind like that be so blind to the very creator himself?
Well, maybe he found something in his research that made him believe like that.
Well, it's probably the same old story. In spite of everything he learned, you missed the main thing. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. A man may know his science, but unless he also knows God as creator and Lord, he's missing the whole purpose of the insights and skills of science. Well, it's time for our devotions.
I know exactly what you're going through, Joe. Same thing with my folks.
They could just realize that things change. That their ideas about religion just don't fit anymore.
Well, you've got to remember, when our folks went to school, they didn't get all the science that we do today.
Yeah, Sid, but that doesn't make it any easier to get along with them. If a person doesn't have my parents' old-fashioned kind of faith, they think something's wrong.
You still figure you could get this Dr. Cooper to talk to our science club?
Oh, sure, I know him.
Well, as president of said club, I hereby appoint you a committee of one to invite him.
I second the motion.
You can't second the motion, you're not a member.
Well, I still think it's a good idea, though, about George.
Well, you two get George to show up, and I'll see that you're made an honorary member, Donna.
Agreed.
Hey, I gotta get going. I'll see you around. Don't forget to write George. We'll call the meeting to suit his time.
Bye, Sid. Joe,
Yeah?
I've got a terrific idea.
Yeah?
Since you're going to write George anyway, supposing that we invite him to stay at our house while he's here. Well, you see, if Mom and Dad could get a chance to talk with him about science.
No, I don't think they'd go for it.
Well, what have we got to lose by asking? Oh, now, Joe, we've just got to do something to wake our folks up. Oh, chocolate malt, please.
So we thought it'd be nice if George could come and stay with us.
Yeah, you know, to talk over old times and things.
I imagine George will be much too busy to sit around here talking with us.
Well, couldn't we at least invite him? I mean, it's the only nice thing to do, and, well, especially since I'm going to write him about speaking to the science club.
What do you think, dear?
Well, it's up to you, Meg. Not the way you've been feeling lately.
Oh, I'll help you, Mom, with the meals and things.
Well, sure, and I'll pitch in, too.
I suppose it is only friendly that we at least extend an invitation.
Oh, that's swell, Mama. Don't worry. We'll help out.
Oh, we sure will.
Well, as long as it's all right with your mother.
Well, I'll get a letter off right now, Mom, okay? And you can put in a P.S.
Are you sure you feel up to it?
Oh, I'll be perfectly all right, dear. And George was lots of fun.
Oh, well, way Joe and Donna have been acting about their church activities, all their growing interest in science, this could be a rather memorable visit. George starts spouting off some of his scientific theories.
You don't think he really would, do you?
Well, if he does, it might be a good thing.
But what if the children should misunderstand? They're so impressionable right now. What if he should plant any doubts in their minds?
Well, let them talk to George. After all, an honest search for the truth never hurt anyone. We've got to hope that our children have a spiritual foundation that goes deeper than even they realize.
He's coming.
George?
Uh-huh. He says he'll be very glad to speak to your science club, and he's looking forward to Mom's home cooking.
Okay,
and...
here, let me read it. Boy, it looks like things are going to be jumping around here.
Oh, I can hardly wait.
You show this to Mom yet?
No, she's still taking her nap.
Well, he better not wake her. She's going to need all her pep.
Joe, maybe we shouldn't have done it.
Why?
Well, maybe it's really not very fair. After all, George is a real brain, and putting him up against our parents.
Look, we're doing Mom and Dad a real favor. They're both pretty intelligent people. They're just, well, they haven't caught up with the times.
Well, I know that, but I don't want to hurt them.
Look, that's the last thing in the world I want to do. But...
Hey, Joe. Come on over and have a seat. How's the old satellite tracker?
getting nowhere fast.
Well, Fred says you've been so busy you haven't had time to help out with even one meeting down at the church.
Well, I've been up to my ears trying to get my equipment to work. Orange soda, Andy, please.
Say, Joe, I was talking to Sid Thorpe after school. He says you're bringing Dr. Cooper over to the science club.
Yeah?
Who's he?
George Cooper is a scientist. He's putting in the electronic brain at the research center.
Well, say, he doesn't have any small portable brains for sale, does he? Could sure use one in chemistry. Oh, say, Joe, how come you're palling around with a guy like that?
Oh, he used to live next door. In fact, he's going to stay with us while he's in town.
With your folks?
Why not? Might be interesting.
Well, it just seems sort of funny. I mean, well, this man's a scientist, and, well, the way your folks believe...
Tell me, Joe, how does he explain away God?
Well, why don't you come to the science club meeting? Let him tell you.
Okay, I will.
Why don't you kids come, too?
All right.
Well, sure. I'd like to ask him a couple questions.
I imagine he can handle anything just about anybody can throw at him.
Well, hey, whose side you on?
The side of truth.
Well, what do you mean by that?
It's just that I'm in favor of the scientific approach to everything. Dad, what are you doing home so early? Is there something wrong?
Your mother and I just got back from the doctor's.
It seems I need an operation.
What for?
Well, it's an exploratory type. I haven't reacted very well to some tests the doctor's been making.
When does it have to be?
We don't know for sure.
The doctor wants your mother to rest first, go on a special diet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I know you've been tired, but I didn't think it was anything serious.
Mom, why don't you go up to bed now? I can take care of dinner and everything.
Well, I'll help out, too.
Oh, thanks. But I'm not going to fold up and wilt. I just have to take it easy for a while, that's all.
Just the same, Meg. You let Joe and Donna take over tonight. Oh, and you better get in touch with George Cooper so he can make other arrangements.
Oh, now, Raymond, I'm perfectly all right. And he'll probably be here for only 1 or 2 meals at the most.
Now, Meg.
Besides, he gets here tomorrow. Now, don't you worry.
Well, you know how you feel.
Listen, all of you. The Lord's looked out for us so far. And our faith in him has always given us the strength to take things as they've come. So I've no intention now of sitting around worrying about myself. I'm just going to keep right on, putting all my faith in God. He'll help me face this, just the way he's always helped me face everything else.
Ready for me to wipe the dishes yet?
Oh, I've already finished them.
Well, I asked you to call me.
I know, but the way you feel now, you probably would have dropped most of them.
Yeah.
I just can't get used to the idea of something being wrong with Mom.
Me neither. I guess it's just that we've been, well, taking it so much for granted that she'd always be...
You know, Joe, I've been thinking about what Mom said, and I never realized just how much her faith really means to her.
Yeah. I wish now we hadn't talked the folks into inviting George.
Well, maybe we could still get Mom to cancel it.
You heard what she said.
But we can't just let her go ahead and... I mean, we've just got to think of something.
We can't let Mom know we're worried about her, or she's going to be upset. Of course, not that she isn't already. I can tell. It's just a big bluff.
I know if I were in her place, I'd sure be worried. Well, I guess I better go on up to my room and try to get some studying done. If I can.
Yeah, I've got to hit the books, too.
Joe, please try to think of something, will you?
It's after 10 o'clock. Don't you think you should be in bed?
Yes, I suppose so. You know, dear, this 23rd Psalm, of all the times I've read it, I think tonight it means more to me than ever before. I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Oh, I'm not saying I'm not concerned, but I'm just not going to be overly anxious, because I know God will see us through, just as he always has.
Of course he will, Meg.
Raymond, what do people do who have to face a problem like this without a living faith in the living God?
I was so worried about Mom, I just tossed all night long.
I don't see how Dad can be so calm about it all.
Joe, we've just got to call off George's visit. After what you overheard last night, if he should say something.
That's what I've been thinking. Even if Mom's beliefs are old-fashioned, if they're going to help her out.
But how would we head George off?
Maybe I'd get one of the kids to drive out to the airport and meet him. His plane isn't due till after school anyway, and I could just explain things.
Oh, but what are we going to tell Mom about George?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's get these dishes.
Joe, he's here.
George?
Yeah, he took an earlier plane. He's in the kitchen now talking to Mom. Oh, Joe, what are we going to do?
You'll never believe it when you see him.
Joe! Man, but you've grown. Last time I saw you, you were marble champ of the 2nd grade. Or was it the 3rd?
Yeah, you were the one that showed me those trick shots.
I remember.
Say, George, do you know anything about satellite tracking gear?
A little. Why?
Well, I built a set and I can't get it to work. I wondered if you'd come down and take a look.
Now, Joe, don't bother George with that yet. He just got here, and he's hungry.
Well, I'll fix lunch, Mom.
Fine, then we can sit down and chat.
Mom, I hate to break in, but I have to ask George some things about the science club program so I can tell the kids at school this afternoon. George, would you look at my satellite receiver, just in case?
Okay, Joe, sure. If you'll excuse us, Mrs. Burton.
Of course, but don't let Joe talk your arm off. When he gets going on science...
Well, maybe I'll talk his arm off.
So, that's how it is, George. Even though my family's beliefs are old-fashioned, well, in a way, it's about all that's keeping Mom on an even keel right now. So, if you could just sort of play along.
Well, that's no problem, Joe.
Thanks, George. Don and I knew we could count on you.
I'm afraid you don't quite understand. You see, I happen to agree with your folks.
You're kidding.
I know it comes as a shock, but several years ago, I came to know Christ. I accepted him as my personal Lord and Savior.
I just don't get it. I mean, after the way you've always talked.
Well, Joe, the kid scientist who used to live next door has learned a lot of things since he grew up.
Well, what about that story in the papers, where you said that science and religion would always be in conflict?
Well, they must have left out the rest of what I said. I said there'd be conflict until both sides could see the other's viewpoint and realize that under God, there can be but one ultimate truth. In my opinion, the true scientific approach has strengthened the faith of our fathers.
Well, how do you figure that?
I'll admit it didn't come easy. As you know, I'd grown up believing that unless I could prove something by a formula or in a test tube or by one of the 5 senses, it had to be rejected.
Well, doesn't it? I mean, either a fact is a fact or it isn't.
But there can be more than one approach to truth. One of my troubles was that I'd failed to realize that the discovery of the whole truth must come from mankind's total experience, not just from our so-called intellectual approach.
I don't quite follow.
What I'm saying is that in proving the validity of religious faith, we can't use a slide rule. We have to remember that what a person lives for has just as much reality as, well, as your satellite tracker here. Tell me, Joe, do you love your mother?
Well, sure.
How much?
Why, a lot.
How much is a lot?
Well, it's just a lot, that's all.
In other words, you know you love her, but there's no way you can measure it with a scientific instrument.
Well, yeah, I guess that's right.
Well, then, just because science can't measure such things as love, faith, and hope doesn't mean they aren't real. You see, Joe, there is more to this world and to human life than demonstrable physical realities. There's a world of the spirit, which is just as real as the world of chemistry and physical science.
But how can you prove that it's real?
The overwhelming evidence of 2,000 years proves it. God speaks directly to the human heart. His greatest and most direct revelation was through Jesus Christ, his Son. Every person who has ever really believed in Christ has found this to be true. His life has been changed. The Bible tells us, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new.
But what about the conflicts between the Bible and facts that science has dug up?
Well, I believe that any such seeming conflict arises because our present total approach to truth is still incomplete. After all, it wasn't really so long ago that scientists believed the world was flat and that the sun revolved around the earth. Joe, it's not a matter of science versus Christian faith, but rather science, as it discovers truth, is one of the avenues through which God is constantly revealing himself. You say you built this.
Well, I put it together, or tried to.
Well, can you imagine trying to put this together by placing all the parts in the barrel and shaking them until you had a perfectly working set?
Hardly.
Well, isn't it even more difficult to imagine that this wonderful universe, about which we still know so very little, could have just happened by accident? The more I see of the universe and its wonders, the more it becomes obvious that behind it all is the supreme intelligence we call God, the Creator, and that our every attempt to understand the facts of our existence draws us closer to him, and that he has already given us the key to the meaning of life through his Son, Jesus Christ, who said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me.
Anything?
No, but George guarantees it ought to work now.
And all that was wrong was just one little old connection?
And a few things that Sid overlooked.
I guess Sid overlooked a lot of things.
Yeah, I can hardly wait to see Sid's face when he starts in on George tomorrow at the science club meeting. And George gives him a blast of facts.
I'm sort of ashamed.
Yeah, so am I. I guess we were way out of orbit.
Speaking of which, could I have a listen?
Oh, sure.
Joe, I hear something.
What's up? Get a satellite?
I'm sure that's it. Here, listen.
What do you know? Here, Raymond.
Yes, sir. I sure hear something.
Imagine getting signals from something way out there in space.
Boy, it sure is terrific.
Good old George. The right connection and presto.
Yes, when you get things connected right, you can hear the most wonderful message of all. The one God sent this old world a long time ago.